Love, light, peace, and abundance, everyone. Happy Spring Equinox, also known as the New Year. It is on March 20th, 2025 already. We are already almost at the completion of the first quarter of this year. And it seems like time is zooming, flying by. I can't believe we're about to be in April. It's amazing and it's exciting because we just came out of the full moon in Virgo. And I touched on it in the last episode. And I hope you did a little research if you listened to the last episode about the full moon, the full moon in Virgo and all of what was available for us, because another portal has now opened and we are stepping into a new chapter. It's like the new book has now begun with us being in Spring Equinox, also known as the New Year. And for those that are not familiar, spring is considered the beginning of the new year, because spring denotes life, right? The seeds are budding, are sprouting, the flowers are blooming. We start to see the leaves again on the trees. This is the time where life that had been hibernating comes out of hibernation, because the blanket that was placed on the earth in different regions, is now being removed because winter is now gone. So winter is not considered the new year for those that operate according to the rhythm of nature, because of that reason. So with that being said, I have already cleared the space and open up the channel, and we shall see what transmission comes through for us today. I'm very excited, because with the full moon, I experienced a newness, right? It felt very grounding, and it felt like the pieces of the puzzle had came together and I was able to see the picture more clearly. It felt like the fog had been lifted. And I heard one of my favorite astrologers share, if I recall correctly, that Mars is no longer in retrograde, which lifted a fog as well. I don't have the particulars when it came out of retrograde. However, either way, we would have been in the shadow period. So we would still be experiencing the energy of that. Venus is in retrograde, and I believe it is about to come out of retrograde, and Mercury is about to go into retrograde. So with Venus being in retrograde, um, there were different things that were taking place in a variety of relationships, particularly the relationships with ourselves, the love that we have for ourselves, the awareness that we have pertaining to ourselves with boundaries, and um, the the ideas that we will and want for ourselves. So with Venus going back direct, then now we get to see what did we actually put in motion? What boundaries did we uphold? What boundaries did we put in place? Let me move this over here. What boundaries we put in place to ensure that what we have been developing within ourselves, um, has a space to cultivate, to grow, to expand. That's what I want to say, to expand, because of what we have put in place to protect it so that it can be safe to expand and grow. Much of that looks like recognizing relationships, and interactions with people that no longer serve us. You may have experienced endings of some sort, whether it be in platonic, romantic, or even professional relationships. You may find that you have stepped into a space where you are embarking upon new ideas and new projects, as a solo, as a solo individual, and that you will be attracting and bringing in the resources and the individuals that will support you in your new endeavors. You may also find that there are different relationships romantically that have come to a conclusion. People may have spoken up, and this is still relevant to now. There still may be people that are in your energetic space, energetic sphere, that are going to be speaking up about different ideas, either how they feel about you, different thoughts that they have pertaining to you all's relationship, that you may not have known that that was their thoughts and their feelings. You may have discovered where people have been being other than truthful, and and it has placed you in a position where you have to make decisions that are best for you. However, ultimately, there you may have experienced and may be experiencing and will soon experience new knowledge and truths being brought to your conscious awareness so that you can make some informed decisions for your own journey and path. And if you find yourself in that position, I want you to know that you are already equipped with everything you need to make the best decision possible for yourself, for where you see yourself going, the plans and the goals that you have for yourself. I also want to remind you, Spirit is sharing with me to remind you of any event that there is someone from your past that represents themselves or reappears into your current timeline, that you remember. Okay, that you remember what was done to you. You remember how they treated you. You remember the decisions that they made and how they affected you. And this remembering is not from the standpoint of holding on to it or trying to punish someone. However, it's important for you to remember so that you don't get caught up in the loving and beautiful nature that you are, right? It's important to hold people accountable for the decisions that they made that affected you, right? Ultimately, all of it was part of your growth and development. However, just because you um, recognize it as such doesn't mean that you have to allow that energy back into your sphere again. You can learn the lesson, see the beauty and the positive in the experience, and leave it at that. You, it is your choice of whether or not you want to allow that energy back in. However, Spirit is wanted me to make sure that I share that you have completed that lesson. There's no need for you to revisit that chapter, um, because there is new that you're calling in, that you have earned, that is on its way. So, for whoever that resonates for, that message is for you. If it doesn't resonate, just leave it, let it fly. Um, what is for you, receive it. If it's not for you, just lovingly leave it for the next one in the tribe that is intended for. Um, you may have also experienced where you have had some emotional releases throughout this past week, because space is being made energetically for the new that you are calling in, the blessings, the rewards, the opportunities that are coming your way. Space needed to be made to be able to ground in the energies. I know for myself personally, I've been experiencing moving between dimensions, and I can feel it because when I'm supposed to be asleep, I'm still awoke. However, I'm not consciously awoke where like my eyes are open the whole time. However, it's like I have this lucid experience of traveling. And there's different things that I'm doing in my sleep that's helping me ground in the energy that I am pulling in from the different dimensions that I'm visiting. So You may find that your sleep patterns are different, they're shifting. You may find where you're staying up much later than what you normally do, or you may be waking up earlier. I found myself waking up between 4 and 6 a few times this past week. And they say that between 4 and 6, primarily around 4, is the ideal hours to commune with source, to commune with spirit, your spirit guides, God, Jesus, whoever it is that you identify or acknowledge. And that's because that's when the veil is the thinnest between the earth 3D dense reality and the 5D spiritual divine reality. And you may find where you're dreaming more, and there are messages and communications in the dreams, or it may be energetic downloads, it may be integration taking place, or calibration, recalibration. I've been experiencing different recalibrations as well, um, as I pull in these new energies and frequencies from the different astral realms as well. It is important for us to be open to the vastness of the unfolding of the divinity of the plan that's at hand, right? It is much beneficial to us all if we release having a rigid way of thinking. Excuse me, I keep rubbing my eye because I've it's itching and I feel like I have something in it. It is beneficial for us all to release any rigid and strict visions and ideas of how we think things are going to unfold, um, individually and nationally, universally. Um, there are many things that are taking place that seems like it is chaos and confusion. However, before the calm, before the settling, before the balancing, before the reckoning, there is always a moment of chaos because things have to be shaken up, right? Things have to be loosened in order to be released. And you may be able to bear witness to that in your own personal life where you've gone through different storms, right? And it felt like, oh my God, like another thing, like I if I if one more thing gets put on my plate, I don't know how I'm going to be able to balance it out, how I'm going to be able to endure, right? And then that one more thing gets put on your plate, and guess what? You endure. You're able to get through it and make it on the other side. And once you get on the other side, you're able to look back and you're able to make sense of and understand the meaning and the significance of all of those things that were placed on your plate that seemed like it was a storm or chaos that was taking place. I don't know what's going on with my eye. Excuse me. It's still so hot. I didn't encourage you to get you something to drink. I'm drinking rose hips and hibiscus herbal tea this evening. And oh, that's another thing too. I had part of what I did in preparation for the new year, for the energies that was coming in from the full moon, was I did a cleanse, a juice cleanse. And I did it to recalibrate my body for the energies that I had already been integrating, and to really be able to ground them, and for any additional energies that would be coming in. And I feel like it was very productive. It was very, very productive. Since I completed that cleanse, there have been a continuous flow of um, opportunities that have been presenting itself to me, that have been redirecting me, or shifting me into a new direction. and I've had to pivot. And I remember there was a time before where I was presented with a similar pivot, and I wasn't in a place where I was open completely because I didn't understand what was happening with all of the messages that I have been receiving, and the direction and the vision and all of the things. And then I was being shown that it was time to pivot in another direction. I was just like not able to process it. However, now I'm able to process it, digest it, and actually embody it. And I'm very excited about it to see what opportunities are going to present itself throughout this pivot, right? What's going to be on the other side of when I'm standing, face to face with the embodiment of the pivot. And I'm really excited because, it's amazing because Source really is the perfect planner, right? And there's so many different ways that things can unfold. And I feel like I'm a thinker, right? Like I'm a thinker, I explore things and I think deep. So I feel like I can, see so many different ways that it could unfold. However, I know that there's still so many more that I'm not able to see that spirit can utilize. Like it's so many avenues that have um, the potential to open up because of seeds that have been planted that my conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. However, my spirit, my higher self knows and is very excited about the potential of what seeds are going to sprout and in what order they're going to sprout and what the harvest is, what's going to be yielded in the harvest, right? Because this is the year where we're going to receive some of our harvest. 2025 is the year that we're going to receive some of the harvest for the work that we put in. Going back to 2013, I believe, I heard one of the astrologers express 2013, 2014. Then there's a cycle that's closing out from 2017, 2019. Like there's so much taking place astrologically. However, the idea is that there have been seeds that you've been planting. If you've been responding to what resonates with you, you've been paying attention to the omens, and you've been um, listening and embodying and doing the work, as they say in the spiritual community. However, you've really been sitting with yourself and really peeling back the layers for you to understand you, for you to get with the essence of you, to reconnect with your heart, to heal your inner child and create an environment where your inner child feels safe to dream, right? And to imagine. And you've allowed yourself the space to grow, right? And to make peace with the past and integrate the past versions of you. That's another thing that I have been exploring too is, a lot of times, different versions of us throughout our path have experienced different things. And there are some things along the journey that we will to release or forget. However, it's important that we don't forget those parts of ourselves. We don't forget those versions of ourselves. It's more beneficial and actually ideal for us to integrate them, right? We understand why those decisions were made. We understand why we were that version and expression of ourselves and how it benefited us to get us to the current reality that we're in. And instead of releasing and forgetting, we merge and integrate because that version of us learned, right? And those lessons still serve us and will continue to serve us. So to integrate so that we become whole, right? There's an idea that we are fragmented until we start doing the work to heal. And this visually can be seen as in this example of being a child and you being very inquisitive, right? You being very inquisitive and being very talkative. And for those who that don't know, inquisitive means that you're real curious. You ask a lot of questions, like you want to know a lot of things. So you ask questions. And if you grew up in a kind of household where your parents were imbalanced, then you may have experienced that in you asking questions, they shut you down, where they told you stop asking so many damn questions, or children are to be seen and not heard. There was a part of you that was left in that space, in that moment in time, on that timeline, I'll say it that way, on that timeline, that you need to collect, right? Because being inquisitive and is a valuable part of who you are, especially when you are looking to grow and dream and remember, right? The essence of who you are. Because remember, this whole thing is about remembering who you are and what you came here for. So being inquisitive is part of that. So you may have turned into an adult that doesn't ask a lot of questions. You may have the thought, however, your programming from being a child tells you don't ask the questions because there's going to be some type of backlash. You may be the type of individual that shies away from confrontation because of that, right? Because in your mind, you think that in you asking a question is going to automatically produce let me slow down. Confrontation, because of what you experienced as a child, because of the way that the adults responded to you, right? Once you get to the point on your journey where you are reconnecting with your inner child, you have to go to that timeline and you have to share with your inner child what needs to be said to bring peace, to feel safe, to embrace and integrate the curiosity that a child naturally has, so that you can regain your freedom, right? And be made whole. So that's an example, right? And I realized that that process has um, given me quite the foundation that's needed to move forward and to even be comfortable in the pivot, right? Because I've reclaimed the parts of myself. I called back my power and I revisited those timelines to assure my inner child that she is safe to be who she is and to express herself and to hold her boundaries without being concerned about the offense that someone else may have, or the emotion that someone else may be experiencing as a result of it, because ultimately that has everything to do with them and nothing to do with me. So these are some of the things that you may have been experiencing or you are about to embark upon, because in the timeline that we're in and the blessings and the rewards of the harvest that's coming, it's important for us to be whole. So if you haven't already, I do encourage you to check out my website. It's shineyourlight777.life. And I offer a variety of services, and the Temple of Divine Remembrance is there as well. So if it resonates with you to check out what that is, there is a very detailed explanation in all of the offerings there, and it's being held. The container is on Patreon. There are free offerings over there. So if you want to go and check them out, I would definitely encourage you to do so. It is important for us to remember the divinity of who we are and to fully step into the divinity of who we are, so that we can, first and foremost, we can see who we are and we can bear witness to the power and the majesty and the beauty that we've known is housed within us all along. because of the divine connection that we have to source. And this process will also ensure that we have our own unique connection to source that is not determined by anybody else, right? Like nobody else should be able to put you in a structure of what your relationship, what your connection to source is supposed to look like. And if it doesn't look like this, then you're with the devil or Satan or whomever, people say. Um, no one has the authority to do that. You know, whatever your walk is, it may be different from my walk, but it doesn't make your walk any more correct or any more divine than mine. And because mine is different, it doesn't make it any less than the next person. So I encourage you to embrace what resonates with you and to release the need for approval from anyone. And I'm saying from mother, father, children, spouse, bestie, employer, whoever, the only approval that you need, you've already been given because you are created in the image of the Most High. So I will that something in what has been shared resonates with you and that you feel the love from today's transmission. um, I will that you feel grounded. And if it is that you were needing confirmation or inspiration, I will that you received it in today's transmission as well. If you are familiar, then you know that we are at the time of poetry. And if you are new here, I am about to read a poem that I have written. I read a poem at the end of every episode. And I have one that is resonating with me to share. And I do have it memorized, but just in case I need a little reminder, have it pulled up. Um, this poem, oh, excuse me. This poem is called I Surrender. I surrender to the divine timing of my life. I surrender to freely shining my light. I surrender to releasing all the blockages of my past. I even surrender to wanting divine love that will last. There's a path that takes you to living. It's usually not too far from the spirit of the giving. When you're in survival mode, though, it's fight or flight. You hold on tight to everything in sight. Myself, wait a minute. Myself, I had to relearn relinquishing control. I understood clearly I was fighting for my soul. As some of you may fathom, this is not an easy feat when your every decision determines how well your seeds eat. I remember the ugly times, alone in the car so no one would hear my cries, burning trees by the water to bring balance to my mind, affirming to myself I will stop in due time. Never really seeing physically, always my intuition guiding me. I remember telling my babies, trust me, this decision is resonating within. You'll see. I trust the Most High. I always pray He be proud of me for my actions unseen and unknown, given freely because only Allah truly knows the sacrifices I made to remain loving, despite the murky layers of struggling. I gave to others because of what was given living waters, moonlit skies, and the ability to breathe. I was the answered prayers I willed for me. Sometimes it felt like that was all I had. Then I remember the promises that said money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life is what I had. So I amped up my trust. I leaned more into my love and nature. And when things got uncomfortable, I'd adjust. I gave until my adrenals were exhausted. Whole time knowing my heart was being recorded. This was the cost, and I paid it humbly to be counted as a chosen. I stand before you expressive and unbroken. You see, being a blessing for others came easy, seeing as though to the Most High I intended to be pleasing. When it came to me, though, it was an uphill battle. Undoing what was done easy? Nah, I dug my heels in and I didn't run. From the shadows, the sides I was unable to see due to the pressing weight placed upon me. There was a time I felt like I was fighting my way out of a brown paper bag, all the while remembering a life I once had. Little did I know a sign I do will be the beginning of my greatest. Robin, I see you. I have forgotten parts of self, buried and put away on a shelf, only to find in due time I'd remember and I'd look for myself. I'm honored to say that I found her. I unravel layers of what was sent to convolute my purpose. When you see my smile, my glow, my blessings, know I deserve this. I didn't quit, waver, or falter. I remain focused on being the Most High's daughter. Now I'm free, at peace, and I'm sharing my healing energy, y'all. I'm finding my way in this world and where I truly belong, knowing I can't go wrong. Guided by signs, messages. Wait, wait. Guided by signs, divinity, messages, and synchronicities. Like the butterfly fresh from the cocoon. I'm stretching my wings and I'm getting used to all this room. I'm excited to confidently pop my shit because what's coming, I paid for all of it. I surrender to the divine timing of my life. I surrender to freely shining my light. I surrender to relinquishing all the blockages of my past, and I even surrender to wanting divine love that will last. Poem. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. It is my will that you all experience happiness, peace, love, and light.